another episode of Pro Cuts. I'm your hostess with the mostest, and we got Rob Friedman, pitching ninja, FlatgroundApp guy. And then today our special guest is Jake Robbins, who's a former Major League player. He owns and operates Showcase Baseball Academy out of Charlotte, and he is a pitching coach for a guy that just threw 105 miles per hour. Jake, what's happening, man?
Hey, everything's good. How you guys doing?
I'm all right.
Doing great. Couldn't be better.
Rob's in a bar.
I'm hammered right now.
Jeez. So, Jake, tell me.
Scotch.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, boy. Nobody's moving behind you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Mannequin challenge at its finest. Jake, where did you play, Jake, growing up? And where, I know you got drafted out of high school, and I think you played professionally. Give me a little bit of that real quick.
Originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. Played at Myers Park High School in Charlotte, and then committed to go to NC State when Ray Tanner was still the head coach. And the next summer I got drafted by the New York Yankees and decided to forego college and play professionally. Played 14 years, got to the big leagues with the Indians, and been teaching, coaching for the last, 14 years with a competitor, my first 3, and then now we've had SBA going for almost 11 years now.
And so SBA is Showcase Baseball Academy in Charlotte. It's a facility and a travel program that you're running, correct? Or is it just a facility?
Yeah, we've got 3 locations in the Charlotte area, one in Rowan County, one in Iredell County, and then Mecklenburg, specifically Matthews, Lake Norman, and Salisbury, North Carolina. We've got 56 teams right now. We run lessons, clinics, camps. We have the pro guys in here every morning. Unfortunately, because they're not playing right now, we get them ready during the winter and give them the opportunity to use the gym, whatever they need as far as throwing and getting ready for spring. They're actually back there. I can hear the gloves popping right now. So anything and everything baseball. We've got a his show program where we disciple the kids, and we believe spirit, soul, and body. So fulfillment is greater than development sometimes, giving the kids what they need in every area of life.
So what is recruit? Because now you're trying to help kids get recruited these days. How different is recruiting these days from when you were coming up and going through the process and you got committed to NC State? How much different does it look now?
It's like caveman to modern man. It's night and day. With the development of social media and technology and the ability to communicate and send videos, across networks and get replies as quickly as we can. Recruiting is totally different than what it was in 1994.
Would you say it's unanimously better now for the players and coaches?
I would say it's much better now. You can get answers quicker now. For the most part, there are obviously pros and cons, but I believe there's many more pros than there are cons today.
Actually, my background is a bar in North Carolina in Chapel Hill.
Okay.
I'm a Chapel Hill guy.
I am too.
Nice.
He's bad at clarifying. He's bad at clarifying things. He doesn't mean at a bar like where he is right now.
Yeah, I actually wanted to go to Chapel Hill, but the coach at the time wasn't on, best standings with my high school coach, so that wasn't going to happen. So I ended up signing with the rival, the Wolfpack.
So how important is that? I mean, where your high school coach directs you, and do you think sometimes it ends up being all about the high school coach and not as much about what the player wants?
You put me on the spot here. I think it needs to be what the player wants and what their goals are. Should always be about the kid and what, my career is done. My high school coach's career is done. We should be there for the kid and meeting their needs, fulfilling their desires. So the high school coach is important. They see the kid in class every day and walk in the halls but the travel ball coach spends a lot of time with them in the summer and the fall as well as winter workouts. And so the relationship you have with the kid is important, whether you're at the high school or you're in your showcase program. So the kids ultimately got to figure out who he trusts and help that follow that leading and that guiding.
See, one of the things that is different that you and I, Jake, are obviously friends. That's, we went on the college tour together. I don't think I can hide that from a lot of people
Right.
out here on social media. But one of the things that I learned when I came up here about you is because we always talk about high school versus travel and coaches butting heads and what do kids do and families do. But I think a lot of times, in general, we think, oh, travel, they just play. They just run around, they go to tournaments, and they just play games.
Right.
But what I learned, and that was really my perception too, coming from where I did in Florida, then I get up here and I realize there's travel programs that are practicing with these kids all year long and developing them all year long. And so it's totally different. And there is, I don't know, I think there's some confusion out there, and the travel coaches get branded as, oh, these guys just play and don't develop. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. I know at your place and at a few others, 5-star and on deck, and these guys do that stuff around here. What do you think is one of the misconceptions about travel baseball programs and coaches?
Well, I think this conversation goes back to what we used to talk about pro ball all the time. You don't want to be a part or to connect with a coach who's just trying to put his stamp on you. Does that make sense? So I don't want a kid to think Jake just wants me to do this so that Jake gets the credit, or the high school coach wants me to do this so he gets the credit. I believe that a coach that wants a kid to fit into that coach's program and style and method, with today's technology and the information that's out there, that doesn't work anymore. Especially in baseball, there's millions of ways to throw a baseball, hit a baseball, field a baseball. There's different methods that work in how to attack a hitter or how a hitter attacks or approaches a pitcher. So what works for the kid has been is polarized now, that in the kid's favor, that this works for me. If I do this, I'm going to have success and I'm going to help the team. So the coaches that are trying to hang on to the old school baseball method of, no, you're going to play in my program and this is what we do, I feel like those coaches are starting to get sifted out.
I would absolutely agree. I think you're also finding there's a lot of coaches who, and this goes back to my earlier question about directing players to certain schools and stuff. You have coaches that have an established network, and if a player, they felt threatened. There were a few programs that felt threatened when I started FlatGround, that there'd be players that were going to schools outside that coach's network, and they got nervous and wanted to bring that player back, even though it was what was best for the player was to find a school they were interested in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that same thought process could go along with Josh when he moved to the Charlotte area. His testimony is that there were plenty of coaches that shunned him and tried to push him away. We received Josh into the area. He works hard. He's all about what's best for the kid. And, as far as I'm concerned, again, it goes back to, I'm running a business, but it's not about me. It's about the kid and the family first. And if the high school coach has a contact in California that I don't, or Josh has a contact in Michigan that I don't, or if I have a contact in Alabama that the others don't, it's what's best for the kid, and let's find the avenue that's best for him.
Do you ever feel, and again, I think that's a great theme. There are a lot of times where, especially high school coaches, will trend towards telling a pitcher, just throw strikes, not care about their long-term development because it's about winning today. At a high school level, throwing the ball over the plate and commanding the zone, even at 75 miles an hour, is going to get you some outs, versus long-term development, which what colleges are interested in, pros are interested in now. Where do you feel that tension is, and how do you balance that?
I actually have a little bit of that tension here in my own program at the 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old age groups. You can see that the kid has long arms. He's athletic. He has no idea where the ball's going right now. And coaches want to shift him down to the next team or maybe out of the program. And I'm looking at that kid that, he's going to be a dude in 4 or 5 years. It's the win now mentality versus the marathon approach of sprints versus marathons. I think it's difficult to predict the future, no doubt, but there are body types that work, and we know they work. When you look at mom and dad and they're 6'3", 6'4", versus 5'10", 5'11", that has to be a part of the equation of who you're keeping, who you're developing, the approach you take in the development. So maybe that kid does go down a team, or maybe that kid gets pushed to the 4 or 5 slot in a 3, 4, 5-man rotation at the time. But I think, if you're in a high school situation, to answer your high school question, you can get away with 3 good arms on your team, right? And you're going to win a lot of ball games. If your number 4, 5, or 6 that we've all seen is going to play in college, he may have an opportunity to play pro ball. If he's not getting on the mound for you, then take the opportunity to run him through simulated games, drive some consistency in his program and his approach and what he's doing weekly, and keep that consistent, so that when the light bulb does turn on or it clicks, now he's ready to step into that 1, 2, or 3 that we all know he's going to be in the future.
Rob, you want to build off that?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I think we had just talked to Luke Little last week, and I think that's a really good example of something that you had just said. Looking at his mechanics when he was 13, you're looking at going, he's not explosive, he's got long arms, what's this kid going to be? Fast forward a few years, and by putting in development time, he's turned into a guy who's throwing 100 plus. What do you think you saw in him at that early age? Like going back and looking at that clip, and give me some cues on his development, the stuff that that he's been through.
Well, Luke, I coached Luke's older brother, Olin, as well. And Olin was by the book, straight arrow, tell me what I need to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and he was going to go do it. That was his personality. And then you have Luke, years behind him, who is big and gangly, and he's the second of the – actually, yeah, he's the third, but he's the second son, but he's the third in line. And he's a little goofy, and he could keep things light in the dugout, but you weren't sure if he was going to go do his bands or not, or you weren't sure if he was going to go do the running or not, or give you a hard time if you were going to run. So, but the big body, the long arms, mom and dad are good-sized people. You knew it was going to happen. I saw a change in about his junior year. And then obviously he took a jump. He took a jump 3 years in a row, his senior year, his first year of college, and his second year of college. And I think the biggest difference was the weight room, his intent to get into a conditioning program, and then what he was doing with his plyo balls and his long toss. He got into a program that worked for him. And with a college coach, obviously, that let him do his thing as long as he was, getting his work in.
You talked about, high school pitchers, if they're 4, 5, or 6 on the rotation, then, maybe looking for a better opportunity to develop. Well, if we kind of shift that into the travel ball scene, what about the kid who is on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th team of a travel program? Because they all want to be, on that program's best team, your top national team. So what's the defense, to tell a kid, hey, stay here, no, stay with us in this program, if they're going to be on the 3rd or the 4th team?
Right. Well, the difficult piece with baseball or variable baseball is it's a repetition game, and it takes patience. You need to get at bats. You need to get your innings on the mound. You need to get your pitches in, and it's got to be a part of a program. So if you're going to throw 10, 12 innings over the summer with a national team versus you're going to throw 25 to 30 innings on a 2nd or 3rd team, it's better for you right now to get those 30 innings, 35 innings. It's better for you to get 50, 60, 70 at-bats rather than 20, 30, 35 at-bats. That's just what's best for the kid. So I think when you can present a plan to a kid, to a family, and what's best for them at that time, and that with the progression, we see him possibly moving up to a better team that may win a few more games, then I think the kid, believes in it.
So we had talked about weighted balls and all that with Luke Little's development, and I know that you used him in your program. But I'm sure growing up, that wasn't what you did. How have you seen that development improve pitchers? How do you use weighted balls? What changed your mind on them as far as being a proponent?
Well, I look at long toss in baseball and just playing catch in general as similar to shooting free throws in basketball. Kids just don't do it anymore. And so you see free throw percentage going down. You see kids that they come in and ask me constantly, how can I throw harder, no matter what position they play, pitcher, shortstop, catcher. And you say to them, there's 10 variables. Obviously, the weight room, bands, long toss, playing catch consistently, mound time in general, getting used to the slope, your mechanics. I mean, I have a list of 10 things that I believe in. If a kid's doesn't have the ability, because of rain or because they don't have a long toss partner, then that's where weighted balls and a plyo program can come into play. If a kid has bad arm action, it's been proven that a heavier baseball can help the arm action clean up, get to that spiral. But not every kid's going to throw with the perfect spiral. I have a kid, a 6'8", 6'9" kid, Bailey Ober in the Twins organization. He's long, he takes the ball away from him, and then it comes up and around versus Luke Little, who's short and quick. So you have to see what's best for the kid and then apply different plyo ball programs for them. And some kids aren't going to do good in a plyo ball program. They're going to have to get out and just long toss. Here recently, I've been having kids start from the stretch position, and they're going to stay in that stretch position as far out as they can, up in the air as they increase their distance. They're going to stay in the stretch position and start to pull down as they come in. But what they're finding is their body's going to mold and get to the position it needs to so that they can throw the ball that far or they can throw the ball that hard just in long tossing. Again, it's difficult for a kid who's outside of a program, outside of his high school season, outside of his showcase season when they're not practicing, to find a kid, find a field, believe in a plan, and go do it. So kids are going to get better a lot of times just by trying new grips and trying new swings and trying new things on their own and what feels good to them, right? So they have to have the time to do it and would be willing to spend the time to do it rather than looking to a coach all the time to say, was that good? Was that not good? A lot of times I'll look back at the kid and say, how did it feel? How did that pitch feel? How did that swing feel? So there's three things that are never going to go away in this game: rhythm and tempo, timing, and feel. And we can see the rhythm and tempo, we can see the timing as coaches, but I can't feel what you feel. So the kid's going to have some communication back to the coach and what's good for them.
So you're treating it as part of your toolbox. It's one of many tools that you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One other question. You mentioned a couple of really, really tall guys, 6'8", 6'9". What do you do with smaller guys? Because obviously smaller guys can be successful as well. You look at Marcus Stroman in the majors. What do you look for in a successful pitcher with a smaller frame?
So, yeah, with technology and the way that it's advanced the game, the big guy isn't, a kid doesn't have to be tall and big anymore. Like back when I was coming through, you can have a 5'10", 5'11" guy who has high spin rate or the ability to spin it. Throwing strikes is never going to go away. You got to be able to throw strikes. Velocity is always going to be a thing. Quit arguing about it. I'm tired of the whole, why does he have to throw hard deal? Well, because that's what good players do. They throw hard. Their arm moves fast. And you do train it to go fast. You're just smart in how you do it. So, and they're always going to need to throw strikes because there's no defense against a walk. They go hand in hand. They marry each other. And as we go up and the pyramid goes to the top, there's going to be less kids that can do it. That's just the bottom line. So the plyo balls, are a piece of it. The short guy, I feel like, has benefited from the plyo balls. the long arm guy who doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't have somebody watching him, can actually get hurt a little quicker with the plyo balls. So short arm guys, you're looking for spin rate, you're looking for feel and the ability to spin, and always, you know, filling up the strike zone.
So I see the Rapsodo and the TrackMan and everything you guys are using in your facility with the older guys. Is there any benefit to that technology with the younger guys though, like 12 through 16 years old?
No, there's a little bit of development there using the Rapsodo. I got my Rapsodo pro staff, you know, shout out to Rapsodo. I like Rapsodo. Those guys are great. But with the younger guys, with the teenage guys who are trying to throw a curveball and a slider, I can put it on the Rapsodo and show them this is substantially better than the other. Very few guys can throw both. What's better, my two-seam or my four-seam? This one plays better, it has better spin rate, or it has better sink. So you can show them more times what is not good that helps them, you know, move forward. But, you know, we're not using the Rapsodo a ton at the high school and younger levels. We're using it more with our college guys and our pro guys.
What do you do with a guy who's showing you good numbers on a Rapsodo, and it looks like his pitches play, but they don't play in games, or vice versa? It plays really well in games, but doesn't look all that impressive on the Rapsodo as far as spin and stuff.
Right. I think when you have a guy whose numbers light up on technology, but he's not having success in games, my first go-to is, what counts are you in? You know, baseball is a game of counts. And, you know, we preach all the time to our guys, what's the most important count in baseball? No matter pitcher, hitter, you know,
Wait, let me guess.
You're on.
Let me
What's
guess.
that? No.
Doesn't matter. The next pitch is the most important pitch, coach.
Next pitch is the most important pitch. The 0-0 count is the third most important count. The 1-1 count is the most important count. The 2-2 count is the second most important count. And 0-0 is third. The 1-1 count is where you're going to make your money. And Greg Maddox taught me that when I was in camp with the Braves, and we were talking about Leo Mazzoni and getting online with you guys here last week. The 1-1 count, whoever wins that count goes to 1-2 or 2-1, is the greatest difference in batting average for the hitter. So we got to win the 1-1 count. 2-2, I never want to go 3-2 ever. And then, you know, 0-0, we want to get strike one, but if we don't, you know, you're not in a terrible situation. You can still get 2 strikes before 2 balls. So we preach those things. The next pitch is the most important. You know, the best pitch in baseball is strike one, the first pitch strike. So the mental part of the game, Rob, going back to your question, for a guy's numbers that play on technology who's not having success in games, you know, are his numbers the same in games? You know, we need to get the Rapsodo or TrackMan or something on them in games. Maybe they're backing off a little bit because they're trying to throw strikes. I tell my guys, I don't want you to try to throw strikes. And they look at me like I'm crazy. I don't want you to try to throw strikes, because wherever your spot is, to you, is a strike. Your starting spot, we're throwing through our starting spot, not our finishing spot. I don't want to try to manipulate the ball to finish somewhere. I want to pick out a starting spot, be aggressive, make the ball spin. So I'm not trying to throw strikes. The other thing is, as a coach, I want my pitchers to be in control. So I asked them, how many strike zones are there on every pitch in a baseball game? Josh, go. How many strike zones are there in a baseball game?
Sorry, my dog's barking. My dog is barking in the background. I'm not paying attention. Rob's locked in, though. What's the question? What's the question?
How many strike zones are there on every pitch in a baseball game?
1. There's a strike zone.
No.
I mean, 9,
No.
like 9 little boxes. Come on, man.
I assume there's a batter strike zone. There's an umpire strike zone.
You're picking on me. You know I'm not a pitching guy.
Pitching ninja, Rob, love it. Okay, so I want my pitcher to be in control. If there's 3 strike zones, the umpire strike zone, my strike zone is the pitcher, and the hitter strike zone. And I want to know what all 3 of them are. But if my pitcher's always throwing to the umpire strike zone, he's not in control, right? He's not in control. So I got to know as a pitcher what I'm good at, where my strike zone is, where my pitches need to go, and that's where technology can help us. Where my spin rates are good. Am I up in the zone guy? Am I down the zone guy? Should I spin it? You know, is my changeup, does it play? So I want to be in control. If I'm in a 2-0 count, I'm throwing to the umpire strike zone. unless you're Tom Glavine, who doesn't give in, or Greg Maddux, who doesn't give in. There's two of those guys. You know, maybe John Smoltz is the greatest competitor I've ever been around. So for me, we're picking a spot, and the easiest way to explain it is if I'm throwing my fastball through the catcher's glove and it hits it, what happens if I throw my curveball through the catcher's glove? It's going to be down, right? So now I get the kid to understand I got to spin it through his nose, spin it through his chin, spin it through his neck, and now I'm getting him to be more aggressive through a starting spot and trusting his spin, and then all of a sudden that spin rate goes up, the breaking ball gets better. So, again, you know, those are the mental parts of the game that if we see numbers playing in a bullpen, they're going to play in a game. We just got to figure out how to get it out the kid.
That's a great point. You mentioned the mental part and how you don't want to be in a 3-2 count, which obviously puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher. How do you get a pitcher not to kind of put that pressure aside and focus on each individual pitch?
So I had a pitching coach come up to the mound one time, and it was like, you got a great arm, you got good stuff. When are you going to grow a pair and throw the ball over the plate and find out how good you are? And that resonated with me. You know, the next year is when I got to the big leagues. It took me 10 years to get to the big leagues, and I finally got there. And it wasn't the physical ability that got me there, because I actually wasn't as good physically 10 years in as I was at year 6, 7, and 8, or 5, 6, and 7. It was the mental part that got me there. So how do you get a kid to throw the ball over the plate? You know, ultimately, you know, in spring training, we have simulated games, and we tell the hitter what's coming so he can get his swings in, as well as us getting our arm ready. And then when you start to throw the ball over the plate and guys ground out and guys pop up and you're telling them what's coming, confidence builds. You know, you watch just a normal batting practice of a guy throwing 50 miles an hour from 45 feet, and you see hitters pop up and ground out. The best guys are only going to get on base 3 out of 10 times, 4 out of 10 times at the high school level. He's going to get out 6 out of 10 times if you throw the ball over the plate. But when you mix in a couple walks and all of a sudden the ball drops in and the ball goes to the wall and you give them up 3 or 4 runs, that's not doing anybody any good. So that goes back to your guy. You know, when the high school coach or any coach wants your guy to throw 75 miles an hour over the dish, he's going to get some outs. He's going to eliminate, you know, the crooked numbers going up on the board. But are we helping that kid develop, you know, by throwing harder if the ability's there, or spinning it faster if the ability's there, knowing that release point's going to change and command might go down for a little while. You know, there's a time and place for everything. Winter development, fall development, you know, spring and summer, you got to go do it and get out. You know, there's many variables to the game.
Every pitching coach has a pitch that they feel like they're the best at teaching. What would be the pitch that you feel is your favorite to teach a pitcher in general?
I like teaching the curveball. I think that it's an easy pitch to teach because it's more of, you know, if a kid's got arm speed, then he's able to spin it. That also tells me that his velocity is going to continue to go up. If your kid can't spin a breaking ball, we're in trouble. So with the ability, whether he's 12, 13, 14, whatever age it is, you know, the amount of curveballs you throw, you don't, just because a kid's got a good one doesn't mean you got to go throw it 20 times in a game. I don't believe that the curveball hurts arms. That's my personal belief. We can talk about that another time. But
no, I'm on that page. I agree with you.
Yeah. So if the kid has the ability to spin it.
Yeah, me too, guys. Me too. I'm on your same page.
that tells me that there's a higher ceiling than a kid who can't spin it. So I like to teach curveball.
What have you, what did you learn? We went on a college tour together, and I truly wanted to ask you this because I've been getting asked this by people. You know, you went out, we got to talk to a bunch of coaches, we got to go on campus, and what did I learn from the experience? And it was an interesting question somebody asked me, and I truly meant to ask you in a phone call, and I haven't. So why not ask you now? Like, what did you learn from our college tour? Whether that's about pitching or coaches or college campuses, like what's something you took away from it?
I took away that, you know, relationships are important to everybody. The college coach wants to get to know the kid. The college coach wants to get to know us, and that when that relationship is built stronger, then there's more trust, and the relationship can grow. If we're just always trying to feed the coach kids, he doesn't know me from Adam. If I called the guy from Washington State, which I'm never going to do, he doesn't know me. He can see some credentials. But when I call ECU, when I call Chapel Hill, when I call, Chrysler at NC State, there's a relationship there, and it's built, and he knows that I know what's good for their program and what they're looking for. So relationships are important, and then energy. Every coach we spent time with, the energy factor was there. You got to have a motor as a kid. If you don't have a motor, and what I'm recognizing is that every kid has a motor. Every kid's got energy. It's just whether it's about him or not. If it's always about him, those coaches don't want those kids. They want it to be about, selflessness and about, what the program they're entering and how they can help that program versus how can that program help me.
What's your funniest mound visit, either as a coach or a pitcher?
Funniest mound visit. Okay, so Bill Champion, I had him when I was with the Braves. Every single year, he would take a cigarette to the mound, take a drag, blow it out, and then go back to the dugout. That was his one goal every year, to make one mound visit with his cigarette in his hand. And every year, there'll be guys, every time he did it, the phone calls would go around. Hey, Champ did it again this year. He made it to the mound with a cigarette, took a puff, and didn't get kicked out.
That is awesome. Rob, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. It's been a lot of fun.
Jake, appreciate it.
I need another drink, by the way.
Yeah, we all needed it. Jake, good stuff, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking a little bit of everything, pro ball, college ball, travel ball. I mean, you got a lot of information there, so we may have to drag you back one day to do it again. So thanks, man.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great one.